Hello and welcome to the Monroe Method Clancast. I am Jason Monroe and this is episode 31. Now, today we are going to talk about a hot topic. We're going to talk about pregnancy. The purpose of this episode really is just to let you know the ins and outs of being pregnant and losing weight. We're not going to dive into... inside Clan Monroe, I've got a highly detailed live chat that I did. Training, I suppose you would call it. I hate that word. Join me for this live training where I'll show you blah, blah, blah. But that's kind of what it is, okay? Where I've done an in-depth live chat inside Clan Monroe that goes into all the ins and outs of pregnancy nutrition, what you should do before, what you should do during, what you should do after if you're breastfeeding and all that kind of stuff, right? We're not going to do that today. This is going to be a short episode talking about weight, specifically around weight. So here's what happens quite a lot of the time. People will get in touch with me who have fallen pregnant much quicker than they thought they would, and now there's a mad panic on because they are not the weight they wanted to be. So what people will quite often do is like, right, do you know what? Let's try for a baby. It's probably not going to happen that quick, so I'm going to go on a diet, but we'll also try, and if it happens, it happens. And 2 weeks later, they're pregnant. Or however long it is before you can do the first test. A few weeks, isn't it? Pretty quickly, they find out they're pregnant, and they've not lost a pound yet. So they come to me, and they say exactly what I've just said. Can you help me lose weight? And I say no, because that would not be ethical to try and help someone who is carrying a little life inside of them to try and lose weight at the same time. Okay, it's not the done thing. However, that doesn't mean it's all doom and gloom and that you should never lose weight or weight loss is a bad thing. So we'll explain a bit more. If you have weight to lose, here's why it's not advised. So if someone falls pregnant, they are completely discouraged from intentionally dieting, because let's say someone has quite a lot of weight to lose, right? They have not reached that weight because they have a healthy, balanced diet that's meeting all their body's needs. They've reached that weight because they probably have a poor quality diet that's not very well balanced, probably doesn't feature many fruits and vegetables and things that a pregnant mother would need to support not only her, but also the little life she's growing inside of her. So if you've listened to any of the other episodes, you maybe heard the one where I spoke about calorie counting being a terrible way to lose weight if calorie counting is the only thing you do. So picture the scene, right? Someone is overweight, their BMI is above 30, and they do not eat any fruits, vegetables, they don't have a very nutritious diet. Now, if I forget pregnancy for a moment, if I ask that person, or if that person decides they want to lose weight and they just start counting calories, then they don't just suddenly improve the quality of their diet. They just try to eat less of what they're already eating. Now, and it doesn't work, right? Because they end up starving, they have to face lots of hunger, and it doesn't last long or end well. Now, introduce someone being pregnant into the mix, right? Let's say someone is consuming 3,000 calories a day, but they only need 2,400. So that's quite a lot of extra calories. But somewhere within that 3,000 calories, they are getting just enough of what they need, scraping by, but getting just enough of what they need to remain relatively healthy while pregnant. Now, if that person tries to lose weight, now remember they only need 2,400, they're having 3,000, but they need to have less than 2,400. So that person might have to drop their calorie intake by 1,000 calories. Now, if within the 3,000 they were just getting enough of what they need, it's highly unlikely that if they come down to 2,000, they're going to still get everything that they need. So the worry when it comes to losing weight while pregnant is that you're going to significantly reduce the quality of your diet even further if it's already like nutritionally poor. That's the panic and that's the worry. So if we, I've said so quite a lot, sorry, that must be annoying. If we start at the beginning, okay, you want to conceive, right? You're trying to conceive. In an ideal world, you would reach a BMI of 25 or below. Now, I don't want to say awful, but as rubbish as the BMI scale can be at times, it's what we have. We need something to work to. They have worked on it for a long time, and this is what we've got. It works to the law of averages. We are not all average people, and it varies wildly from person to person, but it's what we have, and it's what we use. So in an ideal world, you would get your BMI to 25 or below. If you are 30 or above, then you are at risk of various pregnancy complications. The higher you go, the higher the risk. If you don't do that and you fall pregnant, it's not the end of the world. If you are obese or morbidly obese and you fall pregnant, then the hospital will talk to you about your weight. Okay, you may be encouraged to intentionally lose weight, but it would be done under the careful supervision of a hospital dietitian. It would not just be, oh, here's a leaflet to go to Slimming World free for 12 weeks. It's not going to be that sort of thing. It will be, we're really worried about the effect that your weight is going to have on your, not just your pregnancy, not just your baby, but also the birth. We think it would be best if you work with one of the hospital dietitians for the next 9 months and try to reduce your weight so that when it does come time to give birth, that we're drastically reducing the risk of complications. And then there are people who are overweight, but it's not a big deal. Yes, it's increasing your risk of various things, but it's not the end of the world. Coming back to the point. Should you intentionally lose weight while pregnant? No. You should not intentionally create a calorie deficit. You should not intentionally try to eat less. You should not intentionally try to do anything from a restrictive mindset. Does that mean that you shouldn't lose weight? No. This is where it's a bit of a grey area, right? And it's the difference between intentional restriction to deliberately try and lose weight and unintentionally doing things that lead to weight loss. Weight loss during pregnancy, when you have the weight to lose, is not a terrible thing. People land at very different ends of the spectrum. Okay, so here's a few examples of things that I've seen and the people that I've worked with. You have people at one end of the scale who believe you're eating for two. In fact, let's touch on that before I go any further. With your actual energy needs. So through trimesters 1 and 2, most people have heard the myth, right? You're eating for 2 now. It's quite an old-fashioned thing, but you're eating for 2. You need to eat up. You need to keep your strength up. All that shit. The reality is, for trimesters 1 and 2, you do not need any more calories than your maintenance calories. So coming back to that example, if someone needs 2,400 calories to maintain their weight, through trimesters 1 and 2, that's what they still need. Despite growing this little life inside of them, you do not need any additional calories over and above what you already need. When we head into trimester 3, you need roughly another 200 calories a day. That's it. I mean, that might be quite surprising to some people. Maybe you've never thought about it, or maybe when you initially think about it, you think, God, you must need hundreds of extra calories to grow this baby, and you don't. But it's a very old wives' tale type thing that you're eating for 2. You need to get all this food in, and it's just not the case at all. That's how people end up with explosive weight gain throughout pregnancy, because they justify it, or they're being told you need to eat, and you don't, especially if you have weight to lose. So the people at one end of the spectrum who will go bananas and overeat. Then there's also people who will get intense cravings and they'll want certain things. And those people, I've seen people gain like 3 and 4 stone throughout pregnancy because they go through massive overconsumption. I've seen people maintain their weight throughout pregnancy, and I've seen people lose weight throughout pregnancy. And there's no like one recurring theme between them all. Like there's no real, well, what should I do? What was their secret to losing weight? And it really varies from person to person. So someone I worked with had been trying for a long time to fall pregnant. And I mean a long time. They had tried various rounds of IVF. I think you only get so many times on the NHS, and they were going to pay for the next one. And they fell pregnant magically before their next round of IVF. And that person then went on to lose not a lot of weight, but a significant amount of weight. They were overweight at the start of their pregnancy, and they were a healthy weight by the end of their pregnancy. In that instance, with that person, what happened to her was, because she had been trying for so long, and all of a sudden it happened, she gained this level of hyper-awareness around the type of food that she was putting in her body. So she went from what she was doing, which wasn't awful, she was following our approach, and she was applying it as best she could. But when it actually happened, she had lost belief. Like, as far as she was concerned, it wasn't going to happen. She had resigned herself to the fact that maybe they weren't going to have a baby, and she was still following the Monroe principles. But when that first test, and then the 10th test came back and said, you are pregnant, she gained this level of hyper awareness around the type of foods she was putting in her body, and she stopped eating processed foods. She stopped eating sugary things, crisps, chocolate, all of that. It stopped. And the way that her mind was thinking of this was, you have been presented with this miracle opportunity. You've been through all these months and years of heartache and heartbreak, because she'd had a couple of miscarriages as well. In her head, she was like, I am not going to mess this up. Like, she can't guarantee that this is all going to go, right to the very end and it's going to have a happy ending. However, she wanted to do her damnedest to make sure it did. And because she'd been working with me for a while, she had obviously gained a lot of knowledge around nutrition. She knew what was helpful and what was less helpful, so she increased the helpful stuff drastically, and she decreased the unhelpful stuff drastically. So she increased her protein intake, she increased her fibre intake. Her meals were very much protein and fibre, fruits and vegetables and snacks, fruit, vegetable orientated. She had a very natural, healthy balance of diet. And the result of that was, because her diet was so well balanced, it was very filling. She wasn't hungry as often. She was barely snacking in between, and when she was, it was on fruit and other things. And what was the result of all that happening? Her weight came down throughout her entire pregnancy. Now, you need to remember, you are supposed to gain weight when you're pregnant. The baby weighs something. The amniotic fluid weighs something. All the changes in your body, things that are increasing, they're adding weight to your body. But that's completely separate to the other weight that you carry, one of them being body fat. So throughout her whole pregnancy, she continued to lose weight at a steady, healthy pace. Her midwife was amazed at what she was doing. She wasn't worried about her weight. At first, she was a little bit, because it's quite common for weight to dip in the first trimester, because there's a lot of nausea involved. People are just having like slices of dry toast. They're not really eating very much, and then often it'll taper off in the second trimester, or maybe even start to go up, and that carries on through the third. she had that dip through trimester 1, but the dip continued through 2 and 3, to the point where she went through this incredible transformation of not only having a healthy pregnancy, giving birth to a healthy baby girl, she also came out the other side of it the healthiest she had ever been, because she was also exercising as well. She kept up with her walking right to the very end. And it all came down to this hyper awareness of, I am only going to put the best of the best in my body, and I am going to be as healthy as I can be to give myself the best possible chance of this working, and it fucking well did. Now, was that the reason she had a healthy pregnancy? Who knows? Like, we can't say at all. We can't say that had her weight not changed, would it went any different? Had her diet not changed, would it have went any different? Who knows, and who actually cares? All that matters is this person got something that they had wanted for so long and tried and not been successful at a couple of times as well. And it's such a lovely story. But I just want to get the point across that while intentional weight loss is frowned upon and discouraged, and I sure as shit won't help you do it, because I would, not only is it unethical, I would have my nutrition qualification taken away from me. It's not something that shouldn't happen, okay? So if you are in that position, and this is why I'm calling it a grey area, because you can and can't do it. So if you're in this position where you are pregnant or you fall pregnant and you know that you are carrying more body fat than is ideal, forget counting calories, forget weighing yourself, forget trying to lose weight, forget restriction, forget all of that, right? If you're going down that route, then you need to forget it, because you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Instead, come at it from the completely opposite angle. Think back to the episode not long ago about restricting versus choosing. Instead of trying to restrict yourself in an effort to lose weight, choose to eat better. Choose to improve your diet. Choose to snack less. Choose to have fewer biscuits, less packet of crisps, less chocolate. Choose to have more vegetables, more lean protein sources, more fruits. Do that, and your weight will probably naturally come down anyway. But don't do it to get your weight down. Don't do it to try and help you intentionally eat less, okay? Do not make it about trying to lose weight. Make it about giving yourself the best possible chance of reducing pregnancy complications and birth complications. Do it for those reasons, okay? And again, don't do it for your weight. Do it for the sake of having a healthy, balanced diet, improving your chances of success throughout your pregnancy. And if your weight comes down naturally as a result of doing it that way, that's a positive thing. So, to recap, intentional weight loss during pregnancy, don't do it. Counting calories, trying to restrict yourself, forcing yourself to go hungry, all of that stuff, don't do it. Instead, focus on promoting health. Focus on promoting reducing the risk of complications. Increase your protein intake, increase your fruits, increase vegetables. Prioritize having balanced meals instead of grazing and snacking. And again, it's just doing that as best you can. First trimester is going to be tricky because nobody wants to eat lettuce when they're feeling sick. But doing the best you can. Pregnancy, when you look back, it feels like it was over quickly. When you're living in it, it does not. And it will be over in the blink of an eye. But it's a relatively long path when you're living in the moment. And yes, well, the first trimester might not be ideal. The last two, you have plenty of room to have an impact on it. So just focus on making good, positive choices, healthful choices that you know are going to help you and support you. If your weight comes down, cool, that's fine. If you have the weight to lose, of course, it's fine. If you're already underweight, forget everything that I've said. and take your midwife or your doctor's advice on maintaining a healthy weight. Because if you're already a healthy weight and you start doing this stuff and you start to become underweight, then we're just creating problems in the other direction. But if you have weight to lose and you know that it's increasing your risk of complications, then this is advice that you can take. Right, I'm out of breath, but I hope that was helpful. Again, in an absolutely ideal world, try and do it before you fall pregnant. But things don't always go to plan. And if they don't, forget trying to lose weight and just focus on having a healthy pregnancy, and everything else will click into place after that. Until next time.